The night my husband Ryan Cooper won the highest award in the architecture world, he stood on stage and thanked his golden partner Vivian Lee. When we got home, he set the golden trophy in front of me, his tone icy. "Sophia, let's get a divorce. She understands me better than you do. She can bring inspiration to my career in ways you never could." Vivian Lee stepped out from behind him and lightly placed a sheet of paper on the trophy, smiling with a gentle yet cruel sweetness. "Sophia," she said, "the future you've been working on isn't something you can give him." I looked at the paper, an ultrasound image. Then I looked at the base of the trophy where a diagram was engraved, the ancient mortise and tenon structure I had spent 3 years researching, a technique long lost to history. I lifted my head calmly. "Ryan Cooper, are you sure you want to destroy yourself for her?" He let out a derisive laugh. "Destroy myself, Sophia? Besides reading a few old books no one understands, what else can you even do?" The door slammed shut and the living room was left with just me, Ryan, and that blinding golden trophy. He tugged at his tie, a faint flush from the alcohol on his face and an unmasked impatience in his eyes. "Sophia, I've made myself clear. Tomorrow I'll have my lawyer send over the divorce papers. You can have the house. I'll give you an additional $5 million as compensation. Let's part on good terms. Don't make it ugly." I looked at him, the man I had loved for 5 years, the man I had quietly supported for 5 years. From when he had nothing to now, when everyone's eyes were on him. I had stayed up countless nights with him, sorted through mountains of design drafts for him, and even gave up the chance to study at a top university abroad. And what I got in return was one sentence. "Let's part on good terms." "Why?" My voice felt dry. "There is no why," he said, avoiding my gaze as he poured a glass of whiskey. "Feelings fade. I don't love you anymore. It's that simple." "And Vivian Lee?" I pressed. "When did it start between you two?" He tossed back the whiskey in one gulp, turned around, and at last a trace of irritation colored his eyes. "Does that really matter, Sophia? Can't you be a little more mature? What's wrong between us has nothing to do with Vivian. She's a simple, kind girl. She gives me the passion and inspiration. You can't." "Passion and inspiration?" I repeated, the words tasting like pure irony. I walked to the trophy and pointed at the exquisite diagram on its base. "Did she give you this inspiration too?" Ryan's expression shifted. He stepped forward, trying to block my view. "What do you mean?" "Schwan Mountain Peak Unified Mortise Joint," I enunciated. "That was the core topic of my graduate thesis, an ancient architectural craft that has been lost for nearly 1,000 years. Ryan Cooper, how did my thesis end up in your award-winning work?" Panic flickered in his eyes, but arrogance quickly replaced it. "I don't know what nonsense you're talking about. Architectural knowledge is interconnected. Books you've read might be books I've read too. Just because you researched it doesn't mean no other architect can use it. Don't try to smear me with such low tactics just because we're getting divorced." His voice suddenly rose as if I were the one making a scene. I looked at him, at the brittle control in his posture, and my heart went cold inch by inch. Slander. The sketches I drew by hand, the lone references I found after combing through countless ancient texts, the late-night email exchanges with my advisor, they're all still quietly sitting on my hard drive. That is my effort, the academic work I treasure like a jewel, and now it has become the stepping stone for him and his golden partner's romance, becoming in his mouth mere slander. I lifted my eyes and met his evenly. "Ryan, have you thought about who gave you that award?" He paused, then sneered. "Of course, the International Association of Architects, the most authoritative jury in the world. Why? Don't tell me you know them." His tone was full of contempt. In his eyes I was just a bookworm buried in dusty texts, a housewife with nothing beyond her husband and family. My world was narrow and pitiful. I didn't speak again. I simply took out my phone. I dialed a number right in front of him. The phone rang 3 times before it was picked up and a voice came through. Old, gentle, yet carrying authority. "Sophia, it's late. What's going on?" "Uncle Warren," I said evenly. "Were you asleep? I'm sorry to bother you." "It's fine. I just finished reviewing a manuscript," he replied with a faint smile in his voice. "Go on, kiddo. Say what you need to say." The moment I said, "Uncle Warren," Ryan Cooper's face completely changed. The color drained from his cheeks. His lips trembled, and he stared at me in disbelief. Uncle Warren Hayes, a towering figure in Chinese architectural history, the lifetime honorary director of the National Museum, and the only Chinese lifetime juror on the International Association of Architects for this prize. I ignored Ryan's panicked eyes and spoke into the phone. Uncle Warren, about this year's Golden Cheongding award-winning project, I've discovered some issues. I believe I need to file a real name report with the judging committee. There was a brief silence on the other end. When Warren Hayes spoke again, his voice had grown heavier with a threat of sternness. Sophia, do you understand what you're saying? I do, I answered without hesitation. I stand by every word. Good, he said, not asking anything further. Tomorrow at 10 a.m. come to my office. Bring all your materials. Thank you, Uncle Warren. I hung up. The living room felt deathly silent. Ryan stood rooted like a statue. The look he gave me shifted from shock to fear and finally twisted into a kind of hysterical rage. Sophia, are you insane? He lunged forward, snatched my phone and smashed it to the floor. The screen shattered instantly, splintering into pieces. Do you have any idea who Mr. Hayes is? Do you know what you just did? You're going to ruin me. You're going to completely ruin me. His eyes were bloodshot, like a trapped animal driven to the edge. I looked at him coolly. So now you're scared when you stole my research, got involved with my best friend, and even brought the woman carrying your child in front of me to force a divorce. Were you scared then, Ryan? Cooper, you were the one who set out to destroy my life. I'm only taking back what was mine. No, it's not like that, he said, grabbing my shoulders and shaking me. Vivian is innocent. She doesn't know anything. She just admires me too much. She loves me too much. I made a mistake. A mistake any man could make. Why do you have to take it this far? Even if you hate me, why drag Vivian into it? She's pregnant. There it was again. Vivian Lee was forever innocent, forever kind, and I was the one who deserved betrayal and hurt, the one who didn't even have the right to fight back. I shoved him away and took a step back, putting space between us. Ryan Cooper, spare me that disgusting line. Innocent. A woman who knows you have a wife yet sends you flirty messages at midnight, takes selfies in your shirt, and even ends up pregnant with your child, and you tell me she's innocent. Don't insult that word. He wavered as if I'd struck a nerve, his face turning an ugly, congested purple. Just then, the doorbell rang at the worst possible moment. Ryan seized on it like a lifeline and rushed to open the door. Standing outside was his mother, Mrs. Cooper, a woman forever impeccably made up, who looked at people down the bridge of her nose. Behind her was Vivian Lee, tears streaming, looking pitiful. The moment Mrs. Cooper stepped inside, she didn't spare me a glance. She went straight to her son, her face full of distress. Ryan, what's going on? I heard you two arguing from downstairs. Her gaze swept over the shattered phone on the floor and finally landed on me. Her eyes turned instantly cold and cutting. Sophia, what are you making a scene about now? Ryan just won such an important award. This is a glorious day for the Cooper family. Can't you behave yourself for once? What kind of bad luck did our family have to marry a daughter-in-law like you? So unpresentable, always dragging us down. Vivian Lee shrank behind Mrs. Cooper, clutching the hem of her sleeve. In a small voice she said, Auntie, please don't blame Sophia. It's my fault. It has nothing to do with you. Mrs. Cooper cut her off immediately. She patted Vivian's hand, her tone softer than I'd ever heard from her. Don't worry. With me here, no one is going to bully you or the child you're carrying. The first grandson of the Cooper family is Precious. The two of them echoed each other. What a heartwarming little show of mother-in-law and future daughter-in-law. I stood where I was, feeling like I was watching an absurd farce. Seeing his mother arrive, Ryan Cooper regained his nerve. He pointed at me and complained to her. Mom, she's lost it. She just called Mr. Warren Hayes and said she's going to report me for something. Mrs. Cooper's face changed. She whipped her head around and glared at me. Sophia, don't you dare. She strode up to me and raised her hand to strike. I didn't move. I only looked at her calmly. Mrs. Cooper, if you bring that hand down, tomorrow's headlines may not be Genius Architect wins International Prize, but Cooper Holdings chairman's wife slaps daughter-in-law in the middle of the night amid suspected family infighting. Which headline do you think will lift Cooper Holdings stock price more? Her hand froze in midair, neither falling nor retracting. Her well-maintained face trembled with fury. "You vicious woman, are you threatening me?" "I'm not threatening you," I said with a slight smile that didn't reach my eyes. "I'm reminding you to be mindful of your position. And as for me," my gaze slipped past her to Ryan, "I never tried to climb into the Cooper family. Your son was the one who knelt at my door and begged me to marry him." "Lies," Ryan snapped like a cat with its tail stepped on, springing upright. Of course he wouldn't admit it. Back then, he was an unknown junior designer. He needed to get a recommendation from one of my father's old friends, so he could enter an important design competition. He swallowed all his pride and waited in the rain outside the gate of our little courtyard home the whole night. Now that he's made it, that ugly past has to be scrubbed clean. Mrs. Cooper clearly didn't believe me. She let out a cold laugh. "If you're going to make up stories, know when to stop. A man like Ryan could have any woman he wants kneel and beg you. What a joke. I don't care what scheme you're plotting. I'll say this once." She stepped in close, her voice low and full of warning. "Call Mr. Hayes right now and tell him you were drunk and talking nonsense. Bury this. Otherwise, don't blame me for forgetting whatever goodwill there was between us." "Goodwill?" I almost laughed. "When did we ever have goodwill? In your eyes, I'm nothing but a free housekeeper who keeps your son fed and clothed, so he can focus on his great career." Mrs. Cooper's expression turned ugly. "Don't mistake courtesy for weakness. Sophia, this is your last chance. Either obey and keep to your place as Mrs. Cooper. I can pretend nothing happened, and when Vivian gives birth, the child will be registered under your name. He'll be your son from then on. Or you can take your pile of useless books and get out of this house. And don't expect a single cent. Oh, and that little job of yours at the museum? One word from me and you won't last there." Her words were like knives dipped in poison, each one landing exactly where it would hurt the most. She thought she had found my soft spot. A woman with no family backing, no personal income, someone who could only survive by clinging to her husband. Other than compromise, what choice did I have? Vivian Lee spoke up at just the right moment, her voice so soft it seemed to drip with sweetness. "Sophia, listen to Auntie. Okay, we'll still be one family. Ryan was just confused for a moment. He still cares about you. If you want, I can take the baby and leave and never appear in front of you again." As she spoke, tears slid down her cheeks, the picture of a wronged saint still thinking of the bigger picture. If I hadn't seen with my own eyes her and Ryan rolling around on my bed, I might almost have been fooled by her performance. I looked at the three of them. One playing the heavy, one playing gentle, and one pretending to smooth things over. A perfect little family, tailor-made for each other. Suddenly I felt bone tired. Saying even one more sentence to this crowd felt like a waste of my life. "Are you finished?" I asked quietly. All three of them froze. I walked past them to the door, picked up my bag and said, "Have your lawyer send over the divorce papers as soon as possible. I won't take the house or the money. As for my job," I glanced back at Mrs. Cooper's twisted face and smiled. "No need to trouble yourself. I'll resign on my own." With that, I opened the door and walked out. Behind me, Mrs. Cooper's shrill scream chased me down the hall. "Outrageous. Absolutely outrageous. Ryan, look at the wife you married. Go bring her back here." I didn't look back. I stepped straight into the elevator. As the doors slid shut, I saw Ryan rushing out after me. His face a tangle of anger, confusion, and a flicker of panic. I pressed the button for the basement level. When I stepped out, the cold night air hit my face, and I felt more clear-headed than ever. I pulled out another phone, one Ryan and his family didn't know existed, and called my father. He picked up quickly. His steady voice came through. "Sweetheart, are you home?" My eyes burned, and the grievance I'd held back for so long nearly burst its banks, but I swallowed it. "Dad, I'm not coming home tonight. I want to stay with you for a few days." He was silent for a moment, then said just one word. "Okay." That single word calmed me instantly. "I'll have the driver pick you up." "No, Dad," I said, taking a deep breath and trying to steady my voice. "I'll grab a cab myself. I have something I need to hand to Uncle Warren in person." I didn't go straight to my father's place. I went to my own studio instead. A small courtyard space in the old district, very quiet. I usually used it to store ancient texts and do research. Ryan only knew I had a place to read. He never knew what was inside. I turned on my computer and gathered everything on my hard drive. The full text of my thesis, scans of all my manuscripts, design sketches, data models, and 3 years of email correspondence with my advisor. I organized it all, encrypted it, and backed it up. Every file had a tamper-proof timestamp. By the time I finished, dawn was breaking. I washed up, changed into clean clothes, and drove to Warren Hayes's office. Uncle Warren's office was on the top floor of the National Museum with a sweeping view across half the Capitol. When I arrived, he was wearing reading glasses, examining something spread across a huge desk. Seeing me, he sat down his pen and pointed to the chair opposite him. "Sit, kiddo." A steaming cup of Dragonwell tea was already waiting by his hand. "Show me what you've brought." I plugged my USB drive into his computer and opened the folder named Schwan Mountain Peak. Uncle Warren didn't speak. He just watched in silence, his expression composed, but his eyes growing heavier and more intent. He read with meticulous care from the abstract to the methodology, then through every structural detail, verification note, and restoration diagram. Sometimes zooming in, sometimes dragging the mouse to compare sections. The only sound in the office was the crisp click of the mouse. After half an hour, he finally looked up, took off his glasses, and rubbed the bridge of his nose. "You completed all of this on your own?" "Yes," I nodded. From topic selection to the final draft, it took 3 years. My advisor, Professor Alan Lee, can testify for me. Uncle Warren exhaled and leaned back in his chair. Old Lee mentioned it to me a couple of years ago. He said he'd taken on an exceptionally gifted final apprentice who'd made a breakthrough in ancient architectural mechanics. He said the result would startle the entire architectural field. I didn't quite believe him then. Now it seems he wasn't exaggerating. He looked at me, regret deepening in his eyes. "Kiddo, with something this important, how did you let that boy?" He didn't finish, but the meaning was clear. I lowered my gaze, my voice dropping. I trusted him too much. I thought he was my lover, my closest partner. I kept no defenses between us when it came to my research. I was even proud of him. Yes, proud. When Ryan Cooper first showed me what he called an inspiration sketch, I was thrilled. I thought we were in sync. I thought he truly understood those gray old texts I studied. I shared everything with him without reservation, helped him refine the details, helped him build the models. Naively, I believed it was our joint achievement as a married couple until the awards ceremony, when he didn't mention me at all, and thanked another woman instead. It felt like a bucket of ice water poured over me from head to toe. I woke up in an instant. That wasn't a meeting of minds. It was premeditated theft. Uncle Warren fell silent. He picked up the desk phone and dialed an internal extension. "Alex, send out a notice. Emergency meeting of the judging committee in 1 hour. Agenda item: Originality review of this year's Golden Chong Ding award-winning project. Have legal send someone as well." After hanging up, he looked at me. "Sophia, are you ready? Once we initiate the review process, there's no going back. You, Ryan Cooper, the entire Cooper family, you'll all be pushed to the center of the storm." I lifted my head to meet his grave gaze and nodded firmly. "Uncle Warren, I'm ready." From the moment I made that internal call, I never intended to turn back. When I walked out of his office, my phone already showed more than a dozen missed calls, all from Ryan and his mother. I blocked them both. Immediately, another message popped up. It was from Vivian Lee. "Sophia, I know you hate me, but please don't hurt Ryan. He's sacrificed too much for this award. All the fault is mine alone. Take it out on me, okay? If you'll spare him, I'm willing to get rid of the baby." Another textbook move. Retreat to advance. I stared at the text, nausea roiling in my stomach. I replied with 4 words. "Do as you wish," and blocked her too. At last the world was quiet. I drove back to my father's courtyard home. He was sitting under the old locust tree in the yard, sipping tea at his leisure. When he saw me, he set down his cup and waved me over. "Come, kiddo." I went over and sat beside him. He didn't ask what had happened. He simply poured me a cup. "Try this year's pre-spring dragon." Well, I cupped the warm porcelain in my hands, letting the fragrance curl up around me. The restlessness and heaviness in my chest seemed to ease. "Dad," I said softly. He grunted. "I might bring trouble to you and our family." My father smiled. picked up a pair of scissors, and began trimming the clivia beside him. Since when has a daughter of the Su family been afraid of trouble? Back then, your grandfather nearly lost his life protecting national treasures, and he never even frowned. You're my daughter, Sophia Su. Do what you set your mind to. If the sky falls, your father will hold it up for you. My tears finally broke free. All these years, for the sake of Ryan Cooper's ridiculous pride, I had deliberately kept my distance from my family. I never told outsiders that my father is Dr. Jin-Wen Su, one of the country's top archaeologists. I never flaunted my uncles, each a towering figure in his own field. I disguised myself as an ordinary girl with no background and started from zero with him. I thought that was love, that we were sharing hardship. Only now do I understand it was just my one-sided self-consoling fantasy. In the eyes of the Cooper family, my low profile became the leverage they could use to control me at will, and my forbearance became the license for them to hurt me without restraint. I was wrong. So wrong it's almost laughable. At noon, I had a quiet lunch with my father. By afternoon, news that an originality review had been initiated for the Golden Cheongding Award was spreading rapidly through the architecture world. Although the official notice didn't name anyone, everyone knew who it was aimed at. The entire industry exploded. Ryan Cooper's phone wouldn't stop ringing, and the PR department at Cooper Holdings fell into chaos. They immediately issued a strongly worded statement asserting that the award-winning project, Swan Mountain Series, was independently created by Mr. Ryan Cooper with full intellectual property rights, condemning any form of malicious defamation and rumor-mongering. They also hinted that certain competitors were engaging in unfair tactics for commercial gain. Mrs. Cooper even pulled strings to bring in several well-known architects to speak on Ryan's behalf. One after another, they posted on social media, vouching for his character and talent, calling him a once-in-a-century genius, and insisting they didn't believe he would ever plagiarize. For a time, public opinion began to tilt toward Ryan. Many people started to speculate that someone really was pulling dirty tricks behind the scenes. Ryan himself accepted an exclusive interview with a major outlet. On camera, he looked haggard, eyes brimming with tears, describing how much effort he had poured into the work and how many nights he'd stayed up. He said the project was like his child and that someone was trying to snatch his child away from him. When the reporter asked about his family, he was silent for a long time before speaking painfully. My wife, she may have some misunderstandings about me. She's never been very supportive of my career. There are indeed communication problems between us, but I never thought she would do something like this. He didn't finish, but that hesitant, tortured act successfully won everyone's sympathy. Ryan Cooper responds to plagiarism and genius architect betrayed by wife, shot up the trending list. For the first time, my name appeared before the public in the ugliest way. The comments were a tidal wave of abuse. Who is this Sophia Su? Desperate for fame. She's even smearing her own husband. What would a housewife know about architecture? She's just jealous her husband is too good. What a vicious woman. Marrying her is bad luck for 8 lifetimes. Poor Ryan. She'll sling any mud she can just to split assets in a divorce. Unbelievable. My father's phone rang. It was Uncle Warren. Dad put it on speaker. Warren Hayes sounded angry. Jin-Wen, have you seen what's online? That Cooper kid is outrageous. Turning black into white, muddying the waters. He's trying to use public opinion to blackmail the judging committee. My father's expression was grim. Don't get worked up, Warren. He's just a clown jumping around. Let him bounce for a few days. The innocent will be proven innocent. Facts speak louder than words. He hung up. My father looked at me. Sophia, you've been wronged. I shook my head. Dad, I'm not. The higher he jumps, the harder he'll fall. I took out my phone and logged into a Weibo account I hadn't used in a long time. Verified as a young scholar and a researcher of ancient architecture with only a few hundred followers, I drafted a new post regarding the originality of Mr. Ryan Cooper's award-winning project, Swan Mountain. There's no point in arguing. 3 days from now, in the Academic Lecture Hall of the National Museum, I will publicly present all my research manuscripts and evidence. Experts and members of the media are welcome to witness it. Right and wrong will speak for themselves. I tagged the official accounts of the National Museum and the International Association of Architects. There were no accusations and no insults, just a calm declaration of battle. After posting, I turned off my phone. The storm was coming. My post was like a stone tossed into a still lake. Waves rose instantly. At first, it spread only within a small academic circle, but it was quickly picked up by tireless marketing accounts. The main player steps in. Ryan Cooper's wife publicly challenges him to face off at the National Museum's lecture hall. Is this going to be a public execution? My comments section collapsed again. The ridicule and abuse came even fiercer than before. I'm dying. Some housewife calling herself a young scholar. That's not how you chase clout. Who does she think she is? She dares to hold a press conference at the National Museum. Will security even let her in? This woman's lost it. No shame at all for a little attention. Ryan's team responded quickly. They reposted my Weibo with a breezy cutting caption. Mr. Cooper is currently focused on a new design project and has no time for pointless hype. The innocent need no defense. The lofty tone treated me as nothing more than a dancing clown. Vivian Lee's burner account fanned the flames in the comments. Some people can't stand to see others do well. If they can't have it, they'll destroy it. Truly pathetic. Her fans swarmed, pushing that remark to the top. For a moment, I became a laughingstock across the internet. A deluded, jealous madwoman. Mrs. Cooper called me. This time, her voice was full of a victor's smug condescension. Sophia, do you regret it now? I told you you're too green to fight me. To fight the Cooper family. Now everyone online has seen your true colors. I'll give you one last chance. Delete the post immediately. Then start a live stream. Cry and apologize to Ryan. Admit you were jealous and that you maliciously spread rumors. I might consider asking Ryan to give you an extra $1 million in the divorce. Otherwise, be ready for complete ruin and universal contempt. Listening to her, I felt only absurdity. Mrs. Cooper, do you think you've already won? Haven't we? She sneered. Look who believes you now. You're a joke. Then I'll see you in 3 days. I hung up without another word. Over the next 2 days, I shut myself in my studio. With help from my father and Uncle Warren, I contacted the country's most authoritative intellectual property appraisal institute and the notary office. I categorized all my manuscripts, sketches, and data files into volumes. Every piece of evidence underwent rigorous notarization and sealing. The 3rd day finally arrived. I wore a simple white suit and drove alone to the National Museum. The entrance was already jammed with media and clout-chasing influencers. The moment they saw my car, they swarmed like sharks scenting blood. A blitz of flashes and microphones closed in on my face. Miss Sophia Sue, did you really prepare evidence today? Or is this just for attention? There are rumors your marriage with Mr. Cooper broke down because you can't have children. Questions as sharp as knives flew at me. So this is why you're taking revenge. Is it true? Did you come alone? Why aren't Mr. Cooper or the Cooper family here? I ignored them. With the museum security escorting me, I pushed my way through the doors. The academic lecture hall was already packed. Reporters from major outlets, experts and scholars in architecture, and some students drawn by curiosity. Ryan Cooper and Mrs. Cooper were there too, seated dead center in the front row, surrounded by a few industry heavyweights. Ryan looked at me, his eyes cold, the faintest trace of a sneer on his lips, as if he were watching a farce doomed to fail. Vivian Lee had come as well. She wore a white dress, her belly just beginning to show, leaning weakly against Ryan as he fussed over her with meticulous care. What a tender little tableau. I walked onto the stage. The giant screen behind me was blank. A hush of whispering and stifled laughter spread through the crowd. She really didn't prepare anything. Told you it's just for show. Ryan's smile deepened. He even took his time peeling an orange for Vivian. I didn't look at him. I stepped calmly to the lectern and tested the microphone. First, thank you all for coming despite your busy schedules. My voice carried clearly through the hall. The room fell quiet, every gaze fixed on me. I know many of you came to watch a spectacle, a wife abandoned by her husband, throwing a hysterical tantrum. I paused, letting my eyes sweep over the audience, and finally come to rest on Ryan's face. I'm afraid you'll be disappointed. I'm not standing here as Ryan Cooper's wife. I'm standing here as the sole researcher of the Juan Mountain Peak Unified Mortise Joint and the 18th generation heir of the Sioux Builders Guild. I came for one purpose: to set my house in order. Sioux Builders Guild? What's that? A ripple of commotion ran through the hall. Many faces went blank with confusion. Only a few white-haired elder experts in the front row changed color at once, springing to their feet as if they'd heard something unbelievable, staring hard at me. Ryan's expression stiffened. He might not have known what the Sioux Builders Guild represented, but the reaction of those towering figures clearly unsettled him. I ignored their reactions and pressed the remote in my hand. The screen behind me lit up, not with complicated charts, but with a yellowed black and white photograph. It showed a magnificent ancient palace, soaring eaves, steep brackets, and overwhelming grandeur. This building was Zichan Hall of the former dynasty, I said evenly, my voice carrying through the hall. It was hailed as the pinnacle of timber frame architecture, but was destroyed in war 100 years ago. Its builder was my ancestor, Changing Sioux, founder of the Sioux Builders Guild. Sioux Builders was the royal architectural house of old. I continued, my tone steady. It spanned more than 8 centuries, passed down generation to generation. My family safeguarded hundreds of techniques long lost to the world, especially mortise and tenon systems unmatched anywhere. These were preserved through oral teaching and secret pattern books, and have continued to this day. And I am the sole inheritor of the Sioux family line. Silence crashed over the room. The suddenness of it left everyone speechless. Ryan's face had gone paper white. His lips trembled as he stared at me, shock and a strange unfamiliarity in his eyes, as if he were meeting me for the first time. I gave him no time to breathe. I clicked to the next slide. The screen filled with clear manuscripts, from rough conceptual sketches to precise exploded structural drawings, then full load analysis data. In the lower right corner of each sheet was an austere seal, Sioux Builders Guild. Every file bore a date stamp from years before Ryan's project. These are my research manuscripts for the Swan Mountain Peak Unified Mortise and Tenon System from the past 3 years. I said, this configuration is a guarded secret of the Sioux Builders Guild, existing only in our family's confidential pattern books. There has never been any record of it outside. I looked straight at the front row. So, I would like to ask you, Mr. Ryan Cooper. My gaze was like a blade driven straight into him. How did you independently create these drawings? Did you travel back a few hundred years to consult my ancestors? The hall erupted with a boom. Reporter flashes exploded so wildly they were blinding. My God, it's true. This isn't plagiarism. It's theft. It's a betrayal of heritage. The industry bigwigs who had stood up for Ryan moments ago went ashen, darker than the bottom of a pot. Fury and contempt filled their eyes as they looked at him. One by one, they rose and slipped to the back rows, desperate to draw a line. Ryan's body began to shake violently, cold sweat soaking his shirt. No, he muttered, his voice so faint it was almost inaudible. I didn't know. I really didn't know. Mrs. Cooper lost her composure entirely. She rushed to the stage, jabbing a finger at me and shrieking, "Lies, you wretch! You forged all of this? What? Sioux Builders Guild? I've never heard of it. You're doing this to take revenge on Ryan. Security! Throw this lunatic out." Her tantrum rang hollow. Warren Hayes stood up, walked to the stage and took the microphone from my hand. His face was more solemn than I had ever seen it. As lifetime honorary director of the National Museum, I attest that every word Miss Sophia Sioux has spoken is true. The Sioux Builder Guild is one of the brightest jewels in our architectural history. Generations of the Sioux family have made indelible contributions to cultural preservation and the study of ancient structures. Dr. Jean-Wen Sioux, Miss Sioux's father, has been my dearest friend and most respected colleague for 50 years. He turned to Ryan, disappointment and pain heavy in his gaze. What you stole was not only your wife's life's work, but a cultural treasure of our nation. You are unworthy of being called an architect. His words struck Ryan like a hammer. Ryan's knees buckled and he collapsed to the floor. Vivian Lee screamed and tried to reach him, but the surge of reporters cut her off. She held her belly, face drained of color, swaying unsteadily in the crowd. That delicate, pitiful act stirred no sympathy now. I looked at the chaos before me, feeling no triumph, only a barren cold. I stepped to Ryan's side and looked down at him. Do Do you understand now? The talent you flaunted, the capital of your fame, is nothing but a faint edge of the Su family's craft. You didn't destroy me. You destroyed yourself. The aftermath was a tidal crush of truth. The scandal of Ryan Cooper stealing his wife's research and colluding with his mistress to deceive the world exploded across the internet. Public opinion flipped instantly. The harsher they had cursed me before, the more furious they became now. My worldview is shattered. What kind of modern-day traitor is this? He stole his wife's work to win an award and still messed around with a mistress. Professor Su suffered too much. This wasn't marriage, it was targeted charity. She helped raise an ingrate, the sole heir of the Su Builders Guild. Good Lord, what a pedigree. Ryan must have been blind, holding a mountain of gold and treating it like trash. That mistress, Vivian Lee, is no saint either. She knew and still did it. She got pregnant and tried to force the issue. Both of them should be out of the architecture world. Ryan's reputation disintegrated. The International Association of Architects issued a late-night statement revoking his Golden Chongding Award and placing him on a permanent industry blacklist. The National Architects Association followed by revoking his professional license. When markets opened, Cooper Holdings hit consecutive down limits. Termination letters poured in from partners, and banks came knocking for debts. The company that had once been bustling was now a mess of harried employees and chaos. Mrs. Cooper's hair turned white overnight. She sold off real estate and jewelry just to plug the holes, but Cooper Holdings was badly wounded and its glory was gone. Ryan called me countless times and sent countless messages. First curses, then pleas. I ignored every one of them. As for Vivian Lee, she became a pariah. Everyone wanted to chase her off. The architecture firm she worked for fired her. Immediately, and her family, humiliated, kicked her out. I heard she went to the hospital alone and terminated the pregnancy. My divorce from Ryan went through with unusual speed. He left with nothing. On the day we signed, he wore a cheap suit so thin he looked hollowed out, with none of his former swagger. He looked at me, his eyes empty. Sophia, I regret it. I smiled. Too bad there's no medicine for regret. Ryan Cooper, it's not architecture you don't understand, it's people. And you never understood respect. I signed my name and walked away without the faintest reluctance. A year later, I founded Su Builders Modern Architecture Studio, dedicated to merging ancient building arts with contemporary design. My father and Uncle Warren served as senior advisors. Our first project was a mountain elementary school in a nationally designated poor county. I used the Schwann Mountain Peak mortise and tenon system in the design of the school library. Sturdy, earthquake-resistant, beautiful and low-cost. When that sunlit, book-scented library was completed, the children's smiles outshone the sun. Only then did I truly feel the weight of the value my research could bring. After that, my studio's reputation soared, and we took on more and more significant projects. I became the one who could genuinely carry forward my ancestors' wisdom. Once, on a business trip to a small southern city, I spotted a figure both familiar and strange at a dusty roadside construction site. He wore a yellow hard hat and filthy work clothes, straining to haul rebar. It was Ryan Cooper. Sensing my gaze, he looked up. Our eyes met in midair. He froze and the rebar clanged to the ground. The sunlight was harsh. I couldn't make out his expression. I simply drew back my gaze, turned and got into the car. Professor Su, where to now? The driver asked. I looked out at the brand new district rising from the ground, one I had designed with my own hands. I smiled. Home. The car started, slipped into traffic, and everything behind me shrank in the rearview mirror, smaller and smaller, until it vanished completely. My life had already turned to a fresh page. Those ugly memories were nothing but a speck of roadside dust scattered by the passing.